This presentation will introduce you to the Fortune family, the family in focus for this semester. As we all know, life is often stranger than fiction, and for the Fortune family this is no different. The family is based on a real family whose lives have been simplified to highlight developmental issues to you as you work your way through the unit. You may listen to the presentation to hear about members of the family. You can also read or print out the transcript should you need to refer back to issues to any one member of the family. We will explore old age and death, later adulthood, early adulthood, adolescence, middle childhood, early childhood, and infancy. Remember, the information given to you here is only just the beginning. It is your responsibility to read further, research the age groups, and look for resources as you head into Module 2. We'll start with the oldest members of the family, Henry and Elsa, and work our way down to the youngest. Henry and Elsa fell in love at first sight, over a game of tennis. Although Henry had reservations initially, as Elsa was so excited she giggled all day, and Henry couldn't stand giggling girls. After a short courtship, Henry and Elsa were married. During the tough times of the era, the newlyweds lived with Henry's family, and Elsa was expected to help her mother-in-law with the younger children, her nieces and nephews. They lived in very cramped quarters in the inner city, and there was rarely enough food to go around. Henry worked in manual labour and saved every penny he could with a dream of living with enough land around him to produce some of their own food. As soon as they could afford a hectare of land on the outskirts of the city in which they lived, they bought the land and slowly built a family home. Henry and Elsa lived a happy life, with Henry retiring at age 68. Elsa spent a lot of time in community organisations. Now in his 80s, Henry is living in a locked dementia ward with advanced Alzheimer's. He is prone to wander, hence his secure accommodation. Elsa was very happy with the move to the semi-rural area, particularly as it meant moving away from her dominating mother-in-law. Henry and Elsa had 2 children together, both boys. Following a difficult pregnancy, Jack was born in 1945. After a complicated delivery and difficulties feeding Jack, he was a happy baby who thrived and happily entered school at age 5. Following the difficult pregnancy, Elsa was told that it was unlikely she would ever be able to become pregnant again. However, she did 10 years later, with James being born in 1956. James was born with Down syndrome, and Elsa cared for James at home for the next 15 years. This long-term caregiving, first to her nieces and nephews and then to James, left Elsa very bitter about life. While remaining married, Henry and Elsa had a difficult relationship as the years passed. Elsa is now living in a hospice with end-stage cancer. James was born with Down syndrome and has a moderate intellectual disability. He attended a special school between the ages of 5 and 10 and then stayed home with his mother Elsa. As James grew older, he could become quite aggressive, and this made it impossible for Elsa to continue to manage him at home. When he turned 15, he was made a ward of the state and housed in an institution approximately an hour and a half drive from his parents' home. He remained in this institution until it closed under the deinstitutionalisation policies of the government of the day and was rehoused in a group home in the suburbs of the capital city. Since living in the group home, James has achieved great heights, developing a skill as an accomplished artist that has seen him travel overseas. However, he has also suffered some abuses and developed some compulsive behaviours that have made him difficult to care for. He remains in the care of the Guardianship Board. James spends the majority of his time sedentary, painting or watching TV. Along with an unhealthy diet, this has led to him developing type 2 diabetes, which he manages poorly. He is also medicated for obsessive-compulsive disorder. Jack and Rita are active, healthy 60-year-olds who enjoy the great outdoors. They have 2 adult daughters, Sue and Sharon, born in 1969 and 1974 respectively. Rita was made redundant from an executive position with a large national clothing chain approximately 5 years ago. Immediately following this redundancy, she and Jack decided to move to the regional town where their youngest daughter and her family live. While this was viewed as a very positive move, Rita found leaving her close-knit circle of friends very isolating, and this, along with her recent redundancy, caused her to seek treatment for depression. She spent 12 months on medication before taking herself off the tablets in favour of exercise and healthy eating to manage her ongoing blues. Just recently, Rita had noticed some changes in her bowel habits and on investigation was diagnosed with bowel cancer. She underwent surgery and all affected areas of the bowel were removed. She is now recovering from this operation and awaiting final pathology reports. Jack has always been self-employed, working in far-ranging fields including importing foodstuffs to coffee vending. He enjoys the flexibility of working his own hours, but this has meant that his income has never been secure. With Rita being the primary breadwinner in the family, it was Jack who took on the main caregiving role to their two daughters when they were young, attending school plays and taking the girls to ballet classes. Jack thoroughly enjoyed the role of stay-at-home parent with his children, and this has led to a close father-daughter bond with both the girls and their families. Jack also spends considerable time driving to and from the capital city where his brother lives in a group home. Jack is a passionate advocate for people with disabilities, and he has spent the last 20 years in varying roles as community visitor at group homes and institutions. Jack is concerned about his parents' deteriorating health and visits them when he visits his brother. His mother is not expected to live past the next few months, and his father's advanced Alzheimer's has resulted in Jack being unsure whether his father is aware of his presence when he visits. The responsibility for his parents and their assets falls solely on Jack, given his brother's position with the Guardianship Board.